And joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman from Michigan, Debbie Dingell, who was a part of that panel that we were just talking about. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
It's good to be with you.
And the panel does come on a day when these new trigger laws are going into effect. We just talked about them. The Biden administration did sue Idaho over its law, and again, that very narrow emergency provision. Are you satisfied that the Biden administration, that the president is doing enough to challenge a lack of abortion access across the country?
I think we're at a very complicated time, and what the federal government can do and what the state governments can do. You know, what horrified me today at this roundtable, which women of very different backgrounds, a couple of medical doctors shared their stories, talked about how they felt. I did not know now that pharmacists are requiring pregnancy tests of some of their customers, if it's a medicine that none of us even think of, could impact the health of an embryo before they'll give someone the medicine. We really need, this is about women's health care, and we need to protect women's health care. I believe this is an individual decision. It's up to the woman, her doctor, her faith, her partner, her family, whoever she wants to be. And as these laws are becoming tighter and you hear more and more stories of doctors who are afraid to care for high-risk patients because they might have a miscarriage, and what can they do? Doctors talking about very real situations that they're having to deal with. It's very complicated, but I think the president's hands are tied to some extent because of this ruling, about what can be done at the federal level until we take action in the Congress. The Senate passes legislation we've already passed in the House.
And obviously we are seeing some voters newly energized, more energized by this issue. The voter in your panel said as much, in a new Pew poll, in fact, showed an increase in voters who say abortion is important to their midterm vote compared to before the Dobbs decision. We all saw this play out in real terms in New York and in Kansas as well. But I guess the question is, Congresswoman, how do you ensure that voters stay motivated around this issue? Here we are in August, and as you know, the races are not until November.
I think that it's very important that people understand elections have consequences. There were 1 million of women who marched on Washington who I would like to see march again late September, early October. The young woman that you saw talking to the governor today, I attended, by the way, the rally that she organized, and she talked about, I was scared to death, if you want to know the truth, about what was going to happen. She comes from a small town in my downrivers. Quite frankly, a lot of them voted for President Trump. Wyandotte is a very Catholic community. And I was stunned at the turnout at that rally. And it was people of all generations. You know, there are women who had to fight to get us where we are today. And they can't believe that we're going back and that we're having to do that fight. But young women, I can't tell you how amazed I am as I travel my district. Percy was in that roundtable today. Young women who cannot believe anybody's going to tell them what they can do with their body, that it's their personal health care, and no one else has the right. They are energized in a way I haven't seen. And we got to remind them, elections have consequences.
Well, and again, and we did see that play out in Kansas when we saw turnout that actually approximated a presidential year. What was notable about Kansas, though, is that abortion was literally on the ballot in the form of a constitutional amendment. Do you think it was a mistake for Democrats not to get abortion on the ballot in more places, to make voters go to the polls and want to vote on that singular issue as a way to continue to drive turnout?
Well, I wish more people had anticipated that what a lot of us thought was going to happen would. It is on our ballot in November, by the way, because the governor saw this happening. And by the way, we collected 800,000 signatures in a matter of a few weeks to get this issue on the ballot. So we're going to have to, people who care about women's health care, this is a women's health care issue, pure and simple, are going to have to remind people about what's at stake, and they're going to have to elect people that are going to fight for women to make their own decisions about their body.
I appreciate that, Congresswoman. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the other big news today, which is the president's announcement on student loans. He's extending the pause. He's giving relief of $10,000 to those who make less than $125,000. Some economists, though, are warning that it could add to inflation, including Jason Furman, who tweeted, quote, pouring roughly $500 billion of gasoline on the inflationary fire that is already burning is reckless, doing it while going well beyond one campaign promise and breaking another. What is your reaction to what you are hearing from some economists who worked in the Obama administration who are concerned about inflation? Is this the wrong time to extend the student loan pause?
You know, I have a lot of feelings about this because I don't think it solved a lot of the problems, but President Biden made a promise, and he is trying to help those most in need, reduce the stress that they have on them about how they're going to pay this debt. And it's really, quite frankly, keeping a lot of young people up at night. But I think we've got to do more real things like, you know, we look at other countries, we look at the state of Tennessee under a Republican governor that gives community colleges 2 years free tuition. We need to look at how we incentivize people to go into fields where there are real shortages so that perhaps we pay for their tuition and in turn they give us their public service. We've got a total lack of psychiatrists.
Congresswoman, it sounds like you're saying that the president hasn't gotten to the root cause and root issue here.
We got to work at it more. I agree with that. And you know what I think of these armchair economists who like to get a lot of attention? It's really easy to take the shots. Let's get some concrete. I'm really tired of these armchair economists who love to take the shots and get attention, but aren't really working hard to try to solve some of our nation's problems. And I think President Biden has done a lot in the last few weeks to address many of the problems that are facing us in this country.
And he is going to be holding his first campaign rally in Maryland tonight, as you know. He's going to be speaking to the DNC. Do you see President Biden as an asset on the campaign trail, given his approval ratings are still in the low 40s?
So I want to say this. I'm really proud to call Joe Biden my friend. And I've invited him, and I sure hope he's coming to the car show in Michigan in September. I think that it's so easy for people to take shots, not come to the table and find common solutions. You need to look at what we have gotten done in the last few weeks and months and talk about that and contrast ourselves to Republicans and talk about the real issues. I mean, we've gotten health care. We're going to reduce the cost of prescription drugs. And we have Republican senators who would not vote to cap the cost of insulin for people that have private insurance to $35 a month. We need people to explain that. And I could go through a litany of that. They want to privatize Social Security or eliminate it. Seniors need to know about what they're doing. I think Joe Biden is working hard and delivering in a very divided country, and that Democrats need to be proud that we work with them, and we've gotten a whole lot more done than some previous presidents have.
And to follow up on that question very quickly, do you want to see him run again in 2024?
I want to get there. I'm so sick of these gotcha questions and everything else. I'm focused right now on the November election, keeping the House, keeping the Senate, and right now I asked him already personally, but I'm even saying on your show, Joe Biden, I hope you're coming to Michigan to see our cars in September.
And no gotcha intended at all, but just to be clear, do you want to see him come to Michigan? Do you want to see him run again in 2024?
If he wants to run, well, let's see what he's going to do. What? That is a gotcha question. I am one of those people that have said for a long time, politics is a long game, and it is a lifetime between now and 2024. So ask me that question after we kept the House, which we will, and the Senate in November, and then let's start looking at 2024.
I'll hold you to it. I'll ask you again then, and I hope you'll come back. Really appreciate it. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, great to talk to you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.